Welcome to our channel. This is Chadwick and I am Janelle, and this is Nailgun Nelly, but we are doing a new series where we are kind of pulling the curtain back and going through a bunch of different builds, more in depth about us, and answering a lot of questions that you guys submitted. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about kind of our origin story, how we met, how we came to be what we are today, and got into doing this.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of questions that were submitted that you guys were really interested in. So we're just going to kind of go through all of those and answer all of these questions. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. How did we meet? How old were we? And the beginning.
I think we met when we were 28 years old-ish.
Yeah.
We both worked at the hospital, initially in different units, and then Janelle worked in the ICU. I worked on telemetry. In my mind, the ICU was the place you wanted to go to just be like a really badass nurse. And so Janelle was already there. She got hired there as a new grad, and I think they even gave her like a sign-on bonus. They wanted her that bad.
We were short of nurses at the time. I got very lucky.
Meanwhile, I had to beg for a job for months, and I finally got a job on the telemetry unit. Not knocking the telemetry unit, it just wasn't what I wanted. But ultimately, I remember I was during an RRT. RRTs are where like a patient's decompensating, and it was my patient, and the shift leader of the ICU comes to evaluate them, and if they're actually bad, they take them to the ICU. And so the shift leader was Gary Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Gary
Scott. I was like, I don't even know this story.
Yeah, well, Gary.
Let's learn. Okay.
Gary Scott came, and we were about to wheel my patient out, and I was like, how do I get into the ICU? And he's like, I'll take you to the director right now. And so I went and talked to Cindy Porterfield. Yeah. She was the director at the time.
I remember when you walked in one morning after a night shift.
Yeah, I guess I ran across Janelle. I vaguely remember her because she had blue contacts and
black
straight
hair.
No, I met you when you had blonde hair.
I still had blonde hair.
Your driver's license had black hair, but you had blonde hair. And so I walked by Janelle, and what did you think of me?
Well, I mean, I didn't think much of him. But no, I just thought, okay, so when I first met Chad, he had long hair, and I was like, wow, that guy's got really long hair and big lips. And that was like the extent of my thought. Yeah. Nothing else.
Yeah. And I just walked by and was just thinking in my head, hottie.
Oh, that's naughty.
That's naughty.
That's naughty.
But
anywho, long story short, we both worked at the same hospital, and we ended up starting to date, and pretty much did we get married a year after dating?
Yeah, we dated for a year.
It was a little over a year. We started dating in I think you moved in June.
Yeah.
And the following August, we got married, and next week is our actually, I don't know when this is coming out. From filming, next week is our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Yes.
So it's been good. But a lot of questions were also asked on how we became nurses, why we became nurses, and if we both are, and if we still work in the hospital, which really quickly, I never wanted to be a nurse, and not that I didn't want to, but I never had that intention. I actually thought I was going to be a CPA, which is a certified public accountant, because I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I love numbers and math. And so right out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I started doing my general college or general ed at a local college here. And then they were like, okay, honey, it's been 2 years. You have your liberal arts study. You have your AA and everything you can possibly get. You have to pick something and leave. You can't just stay here. And I was like, oh gosh. And so I applied for, I think, a business major at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is not the easiest to get into. And I basically I got the letter, and I was like, okay, Mom, if I don't get in, I'm going to be a nurse. And the only reason was because they had a program right there at my local college, and I figured it'd be a quick thing. And I opened it, and I did not get into Cal Poly. And so here I am becoming a nurse. And thank God, because it was the best thing that could have happened, because without being a nurse and the schedule that I had, first, I would have never met him. But second, it would have never allowed me the time to do what I'm doing now. So everything works out, and I currently still do work in the critical care unit, but I only work reserve. Once I had children, I went down to reserve, which is basically I work 1 day at the hospital a week. Sometimes I skip a week even, and it is wonderful.
Yeah, and it allows her to just,
And that's why I have the time to do this, which
that's why.
This is basically what takes up all my time.
Yeah, even a full-time nurse works 3 days a week. That's full time. And so nursing is one of those unique fields where you have the opportunity to go pursue any other passions you have because you have the time. The days are long on the work days. You're there for like 13 hours and you don't have time for anything else, but you have more days off.
Why did you become a nurse?
I became a nurse. I
Because
didn't
you
really.
wanted to be a good person?
Yeah, right. No, I was up in Visalia and going to community college as well, and we were all just kind of like, just being young and dumb. And I was going to College of the Sequoias all along, and same thing. I ultimately needed to pick something, and so I took a lot of science classes. I had good grades, and I remember driving down the street. I think it was Crenshaw. And I was Googling while I was driving, and I was like, what can I do with this stuff?
That's really bad of you.
Yeah. What can I do with these classes I have? It's like nursing. I'm like, okay, how much do nurses make? And I was like, okay, I can deal with that. And then I found the program in Fresno State, and I applied, and I got early admission.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to say you didn't get in
No,
either.
I got priority admission. And so it was like a 3-year program. I finished it in 2.5 years, and
then you couldn't get a job.
well, because I went to school in the Valley. When I moved back here, where I'm from, I didn't have my foot in the door anywhere because when you're a nurse in school, you do clinicals, you meet all these people, all this networking, and I had none of that. And so I had to just like try to get a job, and I finally got one on telemetry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wasn't necessarily trying to be a nurse my whole life, obviously, but it just kind of like worked out, and it was a wonderful thing for me as well because I just love the schedule.
Okay, what was your first project together? What was our first project together?
Well, when I first met Janelle,
I
I
know what it
fixed up a
was.
lot of the stuff in her house, but then I specifically remember one
Wait, is it a small or a big?
small.
Ah,
I thought it was big at the time. The more you do this, the more
okay,
like,
for a small project, I think I have an idea.
okay.
What is your hint?
Well, you want me to give you a hint?
Were you drinking a lot?
Yeah.
I know what it is.
It was a staircase.
Stairs, yes.
Yeah, we were taking this nasty front off the staircase, like the front board of the stairs as
Okay,
you're walking
first
up.
let me say what it was. At my first house I bought, I sucked still at DIY, and I got this peel and stick tile, but did I use muscle bound? I don't know, but whatever I used to stick it to the risers of the stairs. First, I only did like 7 steps. And then I was like, this is ugly. I don't like it. And I tried to pull it off and I could not. And then I met him, and it literally lived like that for a while in my house before I met him. And then when he came into the picture, he's like, I'm not getting off this stairway until this is all off. And he took a chisel and like was chiseling this glue and crap off of the boards, which now I feel like we would have
Use power tools.
tackled it in like a second, but it took all night. But we were younger, and he was just drinking the entire time. I just kept giving him beer because he refused to get off the stairs until it was done. And it took a long time. He got a little drunk,
Yeah.
but that was it. Our first big one, though, would you say it was the garage when we thought we were doing a good job?
We did a terrible job.
Yeah. We tried to finish off the garage in that same house where it was, we just had to put drywall up, and you would have, I need to find a picture. We took plaster and we were like trying to make it the excuse because we sucked at drywalling or mudding that we would make it like a Spanish style because it's like thicker.
It was terrible.
I mean, it was so thick that we were able to draw Chad and Janelle in the mud, the drywall mud. And we thought it was so cool. But needless to say, we do a lot better work.
Yeah, we're
better.
But that's what DIY is. Like,
yeah.
You learn as you go. People always, that's like the main question we get is, how do you guys know how to do all the stuff? And it's like, because you learn as you go. Along the way.
You learn that was not a good idea or you just start finding these little tricks, and then they add up. It's like with anything. You keep practicing, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds cliche, but it's so true. A lot of questions about like, how did you learn your building skills? Are you self-taught? Do we have formal training or education? Are we a professional cabinet maker contractor? Okay, none of that. We are two normal people that knew nothing. Honestly.
Well, the reason why you do DIY is because you want to save money. And so
that was the driving force.
I mean, we were broke. I mean, yeah, we became nurses and we started to save money along the way, but we were just broke. And so all these projects, we had like all these aspirations to make things look good. We had to do it ourselves. We couldn't pay a contractor to come and do all this stuff for us. And so we just were like, we're gonna get it done. And so that's how we learned along the way.
Yeah, YouTube is honestly, I always joke like YouTube University, but I'm not even kidding. Google something, you will find a ton of videos showing you the exact random thing you need to know. I mean, you have to use your brain still, not just take everything for, Bible, but you can learn a lot and you can do a lot. But and I'm never afraid to like mess something up because I just figure we'll Google how to fix it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the show Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis? Yes. Doesn't this remind you of that?
I guess, but we're the fig between us.
The fig between us.
We can call this series The Fig Between Us.
Yeah.
We're actually in one of our best and biggest, proudest DIYs, I would say, right now. So we're not going to be able to have the fig between us much longer.
But are we going to do more questions or are we moving on?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Are you a professional?
No.
No. You know who is, though? We do have a secret weapon.
Yeah.
And his name is the Blanche manager. And I'm going to get him to come in for an interview because... And geez, he's long-winded, so good luck listening. But he is Chad's stepdad.
Yeah.
And he is like a jack of all trades, the best guy ever. And if we ever get in a pickle, we know who to tickle. Just kidding. Who to call.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
Grandpa Rich is so great.
Yeah. He's there too. Like when there is something that we just don't have time for or don't have the skill level for, we'll contact him and he's always helping us out.
What's one way doing these projects has given you purpose? I will say a different take on that. I feel like me and Chad, I know, and this may sound bad, but it's not bad. We are driven by money.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom actually said it the best. She always says that she looks at money like a game. Like it's so fun to try and figure out how to make more money because it's just like, it's almost like a game. You're trying to win. And I feel like a lot of our renovations that we do started out like this one that we're in right now. How can we do what we love? Because I absolutely love DIY and doing these projects, but make it something that is going to make us money. And so originally, like prior to this account being anything, I mean, I was doing all of these things. We did this build prior to this account being anything. This, I feel like, would be the launch pad of Nailgun Nelly. But we always were, how do we get a rental? How do we make money for the long term passively? And that's kind of what made us get into creating this studio and then moving into RVs and finding ways that we can either flip them or rent them and make that passive income so that it's not like I'm just doing a project just to do a project. It's justified.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We're always, we're trying to win the game, sure. But it's all, the main thing is, for me at least, is financial freedom to where you have enough streams of income and your whole financial life's kind of diversified to where you can kind of live the life that you envision yourself living. And so that's always the goal. We're always climbing towards that peak where we got legitimate financial freedom. And what we've created with Nailgun Nelly is definitely leading us on that path. And that's one of the main drivers. Yeah. Besides loving what we do, we're just trying to enjoy our life and not be so tied down by financial obligation.
And I think that kind of leads into another question that I was getting asked a lot was, does Chad always go along with my ideas? Or is there any pushback, or how does he like it? And I think that I always can be like, if we spend this much money, we are going to be able to make this much money. He is he's very into, what would you say? Money. not that, but like not wasting money. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I can do all of these projects, but the end result is going to turn into money. So it's okay if it takes a little money up front. And then I feel like he is now at a point where he may not understand or see the designs that I'm doing at the time. Currently in the trailer we're renovating, he cannot stand some white walls and different things that he sees. But I think you've been through this road enough where you
Yeah.
trust me and you know the end result will work out. And he's very easygoing. So I don't think he really.
Yeah, we're
You
not
do you,
we're
do you
not
say
gonna
no?
we're not gonna be like let's build a pool in the back of our yard and just for funsies. Everything we do has a reason, and financially, it needs to make sense so we can continue on because you'll run out of money. You got to make money along the way.
Yeah.
But I will say that Janelle's the design queen, and so a lot of the time she does things, and initially in the past years, I'd be like, God, how is that going to work? And now I just don't even question it because I know it's going to work. It all gets tied up and it always looks amazing. And it's nothing I could ever come up with. So yeah, I don't really give any pushback.
Is there a project that you were like, I absolutely don't want to do this? Or maybe we shouldn't do this?
No,
I know, I don't think
no,
there is
I'm
either.
always down.
Yeah, he's very easy going.
Yeah, so not a lot of pushback in short.
No. And then people want to know why you're wearing a shirt right now. They're very confused.
I I don't like to wear a shirt, but I also feel like you should wear a shirt, around people. And so, yeah, I do throw on the shirt, especially when we're filming a little YouTube video. So,
Yeah, except for that tankless water heater one. You weren't wearing a shirt that day.
well, I don't know what we were doing,
I
but
know. We
one
must have
day
been working.
when I'm like a 70-year-old man, I will refuse at that point to wear a shirt.
Okay, let's see. And then one last one. People want to know where we live and how on earth we became Packer fans.
Okay.
Where is the root? So first off, we live in California on the Central Coast. The best hidden gem. Don't come unless you don't want to ruin it. But we're kind of like smack dab between San Francisco and LA.
The motto here that you see a lot on people's bumpers is not LA, not the Bay. And we're just
Yes.
right in the middle.
And we're absolutely not either one of those. Pismo Beach is the closest area that people usually know. And the Packers stem from my husband.
Yeah, my real dad was a Packer fan and obviously passed that down to me. And so his family was always Packer fans, and they were from, the mid America, Wisconsin area.
Midwest, I
So
think they call it.
yeah, would that be the Midwest? It's like
I
smack
think that's what
dab.
they call it, which doesn't make sense,
It's
but I'm
slapped
pretty sure
against the
that's.
Great Lake. But yeah, so it just
You can
got
call it Wisconsin.
passed down through the generations. And Janelle wasn't even a football fan really, and I'm not like die hard, but I'm passionate about it. I kind of grew up because my dad wasn't around, and so like Brett Favre was like my surrogate father at that time. I just looked up to people like that, and so I was passionate about it, and yeah, Janelle obviously caught on, and she loves it now too.
And also, I'm crazy into fantasy football, which is funny because I used to talk mad crap to him for being into it when we first met. And now it's kind of flipped. But yeah. And okay, so one last one. Let's see. What got you both interested in vintage camper remodels? And that was a
Well,
complete accident.
it was. So we did the studio, and we'll do a little snippet on the studio in another video, I think.
That's
But
this where we're
we're
at.
in the studio right now, but it's a tiny space, and tiny spaces are unique because you can really get down on the design of it. And like if you're in your house and you want to do something very unique in any given room, is it going to flow with the rest of the house? You got to always keep that in mind. But when you have a small space, it can be whatever you want it to be. So we really enjoyed doing the studio. And then our neighbor Pam, nice old lady who's just amazing. She had this old, what was it, 1974 Ideal travel trailer in her backyard, covered in like 3 inches of moss. And we're like,
It
let's
looked
go.
like a pile.
Yeah, let's check it out. And she basically said, if you can get this thing out of my backyard, it's yours. And we did.
And it was hard.
And we renovated that sucker.
And I will say, the reason that happened is so we just literally, we were tying up this place. And right when we were about to list it, the pandemic started. And so pretty much, I mean, I like my coffee table right in front of us, I had to build because there was no place open that I could even purchase one. And so it was right at the start of the pandemic. Everything was shut down and we had no way of doing anything. And I was like fresh off of this build and it was amazing. And I'm like, I just want to renovate a space. Never did I think that I would go into trailers or that that is even a thing. But I happened to doom scroll on Instagram and I ran across a girl and she's amazing. And I wish I could think of her. I'm going to find it. And she does amazing work. And I had never seen somebody renovate a trailer. I was like, this is so weird. Yeah. And it was such perfect timing because I looked out our bathroom window, saw a trailer, we were getting it for free. And so that gave me the confidence because we didn't have any money invested. We couldn't go anywhere because it was COVID. And so I was like, let's just start tearing it apart. And if it doesn't work out, we'll take it to the dump.
And in the hospital,
it was amazing.
In the hospital we worked at that time during COVID with tons of travel nurses and they all needed places to stay. And so we rented out the studio, but also we're like, let's turn this tiny little trailer into a livable place. And so we asked all the travel nurses, what's an ideal setup for you guys? Like, what would you enjoy staying in? And so we picked their mind and took all the tips and we created the travel trailer, the ideal, and which is actually a little tiny home now, functions as one that
we still have it out there. And we rent it out to travel professionals. And that just goes back to always justifying the reason for a renovation. Yeah. So, and then once, and when I was renovating that, nobody was watching. I did a couple other ones, a van conversion, and I still had nobody watching.
We had like 2,000 followers. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think we had like 800.
Yeah.
And that was like at the van.
So we did this whole studio, the whole first trailer, a whole toy hauler, a badass van conversion, all these things with like less than 1,000 followers.
I know, nobody knew.
Nobody was following.
But it was okay because it was all justified and it was what we loved. But that's kind of how it started, you know, becoming a thing.
Yeah, but we have a huge
following. And now we are really into them. And one of my favorite things about the trailers, like he said, is I can do the wildest designs that I would not normally put in my home and create like this magic little place that is completely separate from everything. So, you know, moody to boho to beachy to currently, I don't even know what that trailer's.
Retro.
I don't know, but it's really fun to be able to have these little spaces that you can completely go all out into some different design.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a little bit about us. We do have 2 boys. I don't think we mentioned that, but if you know us, you know that. And is there anything else?
No, keep following along.
Keep following along. So yeah, this is the kickoff of our brand new series where we are diving deep into the questions that you guys have. And then we will be getting into a bunch of different topics. We have them all scheduled out for fall, winter, spring, and summer coming up. And we should be putting one out once a week. So thanks for tuning in. And once again, I'm Janelle. This is Chad. And we are with Nailgun Nelly. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love for you to subscribe so you can get alerted to all of our videos coming out. And we will see you next time.